Da, da, da.
Well, it says I'm streaming, but does that mean anything? I am not offline. There we go.
All right. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you perfectly. I had to do a little finagling to get the music to play through to Twitch, but I think I
Oh,
got
is
it
it
all
working now?
figured out. Yeah, it should be working. At least I hope it is. We'll find out tonight. I'm gonna go
In
ahead and
theory.
post this to Twitter. And I will go to my page and retweet
The tweeter.
Tweeter. And I will put it on Facebook too, just to be on the safe side.
I will do the same thing.
This is going to be a fun episode. I've been looking forward to talking about Batman.
Batman.
It's such a good game, man. I forgot how good it was.
Yeah, I actually played a little bit of Star Tropics this morning.
Oh, yeah? How'd you like it?
Definitely some Zelda influence in there.
You think?
Yeah, just a little bit. When I saw the main menu, I'm like, is this Zelda?
Yeah,
But
dude,
it's fun. It's fun.
it's a direct, like you can tell that they pulled all of their influences from Zelda for that game.
Oh, for sure. All right, I will retweet this on my page. Da 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 da.
Hopefully, we'll get some people watching.
Fingers crossed.
Are you in the room right now? Because I think it's just me and one other person. But we'll get there.
Um,
This is only our
yeah,
second thing. So,
yeah, it'll just take some time.
but yeah.
Let's see.
Let's see. Most of these, the only one that's really a news story is I just wanted to talk about the SNES Classic and the game lineup. The
Hmm.
first one is just kind of just a discussion. The first and the third one are just kind of discussion pieces. Especially the one with This Week in Business
Hmm.
on Kotaku. It's really just that one thing for us to kind of a jumping off point to talk about it.
Yeah.
And then when we go on this month of video game history, we'll just flip flop.
Okay.
Now I guess
Let
we
me
can go
get
ahead
that
and get
pulled up.
started. If you're ready to start, I'm ready to start.
Sure.
Let me make sure all this stuff is working. Everything's turned up. Yep, that's working. Hopefully, we won't have any soundboard issues this week.
Fingers crossed.
All right, here we go. This episode of the Nerd Cave Retro is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/nerdcave. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player.
You're listening to the Nerd Cave Network.
Greetings, programs, and welcome back to the Nerd Cave Retro Podcast. My name is Jason Robbins.
And I'm Derek Diamond.
And how was your week, sir?
Very long. Very long. For those who live in the southeast region, there's quite a bit of rain
A little
that we've
bit.
dealt with over the last couple of weeks. So I've had a lot of tarp pulls at work. We did, what day was it? We did 3 in one day.
Really?
And it was on Wednesday or Thursday. And that's basically you're putting a giant piece of plastic on a baseball field so that it doesn't get rained on.
Yeah.
And then you have to take it off so the grounds crew can prep it for the game. Well, we had Wednesday, I think it was Wednesday, we put the tarp on, then took it off, and then within the first inning it just started pouring. So we put it on, like in the pouring rain. My hair is like stretched down to here. It was annoying,
I don't
and
have that problem.
the game got postponed. So yeah, it's trust me, it's a problem that you don't want to deal with. But yeah, so we had two double headers in a row, so it's been a
Wow.
very long day. But have had some time to play a little bit of video games. I just bought the Crash Bandicoot Insanity trilogy, which is the first three games of the Crash Bandicoot trilogy, completely remastered. Graphics look great. It looks like a modern day Saturday morning cartoon, which is really cool. They remastered the music, the sound effects. It's a gorgeous looking game, and they didn't really change anything as far as the story and the mechanics go. So it's been a lot of fun going back and revisiting those. Next week, I'm actually going to review Crash Bandicoot 2 for the original PlayStation,
That's
which is
awesome.
my personal favorite in that trilogy. But if you're a Crash Bandicoot fan, definitely get the Insanity Collection. It's basically three games for the price of less than one modern day game. So
Wow.
it's a pretty good price. And then I also played a little bit of Star Tropics, which you've reviewed here in the past.
Yes. Such a good game.
It was fun. The mechanics, it was very Zelda-like.
It does
Even
take
when
a
I'm
little bit.
looking at the,
It does take a little bit to get used to the controls for that
yes,
game. But once you get
yeah, but
used
once
to
you,
it's fine.
yeah, it's really not that bad. I've only beat the first boss. Like I haven't really made that far into it at all. I just played it literally for 20 minutes or so this morning. But it's fun. I liked it.
Awesome. I'm glad you got to play it a little bit. I'd like to hear you kind of a review from you about it
Yeah,
after you get to play it for a
yeah, for
while.
sure. But how's your week been?
Long, hot, and wet and gross. So pretty much
Yeah,
a typical Gulf Coast
it's
week.
July, so we're getting into those really hot months.
Yeah, it's awful. I can't take it much longer. I need to move far away from here.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. But let's go
yeah.
ahead and move into the news for this week. Now, we got a couple of stories this week, and not really a whole lot of actual news stories, but one of them here is actually more of a discussion piece from Kotaku. No, this is from BBC.com about why retro gaming, why players are returning to the classics. And really, it's a lot of it's talk about Nintendo, uh, arcade revivals. The people love playing stuff like Mario Sunshine and Mario Kart Double Dash and stuff like that. And then it kind of goes into a National Video Gaming Arcade that opened up in Nottingham in 2015, and it talks about the different arcades that have kind of popped up along in Europe and stuff like that. And it's all also about like just a feeling of nostalgia. It's what people want. It says it is the feeling of nostalgia, being able to look through the games, see and feel the boxes, and this is also because of the way people want to buy their games, and there are physical stores popping up and gaming cafes and things of that nature that are popping up all over the place. So what do you think it is about retro gaming that really is starting to get people, like it's starting to get back into the mainstream?
I think it really depends on your age and the sentimental value that's attached to it. If you're someone who's, I mean, I know you're a little bit older than me, but your age and really even my age, those who really grew up in the 90s, it's that feeling of nostalgia and reminiscing about your childhood, simpler times. Back when there's a different feel about retro games than there are modern games. Some modern games are a lot of fun, but I just love the mechanics, the looks of like a Sega Genesis game or a Super Nintendo game,
Yeah.
so on and so forth. So I think it really depends on your sentimental attachment. I think if you're someone who's, maybe in your early 20s or late teens, or maybe even a little bit younger than that, I think it's just you didn't grow up with that type of gaming. You didn't grow up in that era. You weren't even alive then. So it's that kind of discovery and seeing where video games came from.
But do you
But so long
really?
story, oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I mean, do you think that kind of more or less the kids today can really get into the retro game stuff? You know, I mean, do they love these games as much as we did back in the day, or could they? Oops, sorry about that.
Could
Stupid
could
ad.
they? I think so, but I think the love of it is different because they didn't grow up with it.
Yeah,
You can play a game, like there are even some older games that I'll go back and play that I didn't when I was a kid, and I'll think they're good games, but I don't have that same attachment because I didn't grow up with it.
yeah,
I grew up with Mario, I grew up with Zelda, so I'll have attachments to those. But going back and playing, like, say, an Earthworm Jim, a game that, I knew was popular. I mean, there was even a cartoon on it, but I didn't grow up with it. So while I might think it's fun, I don't think of it in the same way as those other properties that I grew up loving.
yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, it's really for me more of a actual just nostalgia thing. Like I love all these games that we play. I mean, that's the biggest reason why we started this show is because of just nostalgia for this stuff. You know.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, I think with people our age, it's that classic "what's old is new again" type thing. I'll go in like the mall or even like a Walmart or a Target, and you'll see old video game type merchandise. Like they've brought back the SNES style of artwork that they used for Super Mario World, and that's been the artwork they've used for the Mario Brothers characters, like on T-shirts, cups. And it's kind of cool to see that because I always loved that art style.
yeah,
So I'm glad to see it making a comeback. So really, when it comes down to it, I think it just depends on your age, the era you grew up in, and what specific games that you loved as far as, the why retro gaming is making a comeback.
yeah. Well, I'll agree with that. I mean, and talking of retro gaming and stuff that's coming back in style, I'm going to let you talk about the next one. It's something that right after last week we talked about this, and literally the next day this was announced.
Yeah, I was like, that's just our luck that it would be announced the day after. So this comes to us from Nintendo.com. The Super Nintendo Entertainment System Classic Edition has been confirmed. It will be released September 29th, 2017 for $80 and will come with 21 classic games. And I'll list through all of these really quick. Super Mario World, F-Zero, Mario Kart, Super Metroid, Link to the Past, Street Fighter 2 Turbo, Super Punch Out, Castlevania 4, Donkey Kong Country, Mega Man X, Kirby Superstar, Final Fantasy 3, Kirby's Dream Course, Star Fox, Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island, Mario RPG, Contra 3, Secret of Mana, Earthbound, Super Ghouls and Ghosts, and for the first time ever, the never before released Star Fox 2, which you can unlock by beating level 1 of Star Fox.
Which is, I think, was basically Nintendo's ace up the sleeve for this
Yes.
thing.
That was a nice, pleasant surprise. I'm not gonna lie, because that game was completed back in the day, but for some reason, and I have no idea why, but it was never released. So I think that was really good of them to put this game on the system. But the question is, how many of these things will be out?
Well, that
Because
actually
Nintendo.
brings us to
Go ahead.
the next article that I brought up, and it's not so much about it. It's just kind of a breakdown of everything that happened this week. It was on Kotaku, and it basically just says, "Do you believe Nintendo?" The quote from them is, "We will produce significantly more units of Super NES Classic Edition than we did of the NES Classic Edition. Nintendo does its best to reassure preemptively angry fans that its latest retro console offering will be easier to find than its last one. Do we believe them?
I really want to say yes, but it's one of those things that I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah.
They've, like you said, they've been quoted as saying they will release substantially more, but they've also said that there may not be any more produced after the end of the year. So the SNES Classic is coming out a little bit earlier than the NES did. NES came out in November. This is coming out at the end of September. So you basically have 4 months to get it.
Yeah.
Well, 3 months and 3 months and change. But I'm I want to, but I just don't know. They've screwed up so many times. They screwed up big with the NES Classic. I even think they screwed up to an extent with the Switch. Now, I have seen the Switch is becoming more frequently seen in stores. I went in our Best Buy last week and they had quite a few in stock.
Yeah.
And even in Target they had a couple in stock. So you're starting to see them a little bit more.
Yeah. That's
so
never actually
hopefully
been
they can keep that up.
That's never really been a problem here where I live. Every time I go to a store, there seems to be at least a couple of Switches available. But like we talked about, I'll believe it when I see it if Nintendo produces enough Super Nintendos to kind of stave off what do they call it? Not sniping, but
Scalpers?
scalpers. I couldn't think of the name scalpers. But I mean, I know it's going to happen, at least at first. There's going to be scalping. But I just wonder, like, how many units are they planning? Because how many units was it of the NES did they put out? Like, only like 100,000 or something like that?
Something like that. I know the Target I went to,
Or maybe a
the
million?
day it came out, they only had 8 in stock.
Yeah. I mean, each
And
store needs to have at least 20 to 30 of these Super Nintendos to not have that happen again, because they're taking a big risk with people doing this, because, it's going to be very easy to piss people off if they can't get a Super Nintendo, much like they couldn't get a Nintendo Classic.
I also think that every retail store, no matter if it's Target, Best Buy, Walmart, GameStop, wherever it is that sells these things, whether you pre-order them or not, there should only be a limit of 2 per person.
Yeah.
No picking up like 4 or 5 and saying, "Oh, I'm getting these for other people."
Yeah.
No exceptions. You can only have 2 per person.
Oh, I totally agree. That would be one way to stop it. But then again, what's to stop them from, having someone else with them go in and order 2, and then they get 2, and they just kind of get coordinated with other people. But they got to do something. They got to put out enough of these things to kind of keep people sated, because if they have another problem with this that they did with the NES Classic, they're going to have a big trust problem on their hands.
Yeah. Which, kind of going to the SNES Classic itself, what do you think of the lineup?
It's a great lineup. I mean, there's a couple of games I really wish could have been on there. Legend of Mystical Ninja being one, because that was not necessarily. I think it might not have been a launch title, but it was very, very early in the Super Nintendo. But there's a lot of games that I used to play that I wish was on there. I'd have to kind of go through a list. I actually just closed out the window. Is Super R-Type on there?
It is not.
Yeah, that's another game that should have been on there, because that was, that was a pretty big game. And what about like ActRaiser? Is ActRaiser on there?
No.
That's another huge title, launch title for the Super Nintendo that should have been on this thing. And I understand these games are bigger, but you can they could have put so many more games on this thing. I mean, 21 games is not bad. I mean, I'm not complaining, but you had 30 on the Nintendo. Why not do another 30? I mean, put another 9 games on this thing, or give us the opportunity to go online and purchase to the machine.
Yeah. And the games that I really wanted that aren't on this list are Donkey Kong Country 2 and Turtles in Time, Teenage
Yeah,
Mutant Ninja Turtles 4.
that's one I would have
I,
thought would have been on here.
yeah, because that game was really popular. But I mean, I like the lineup. I think it's really good. You know, most of these games I have at least played through once or dabbled a little bit into. The only ones I think that I've never played Mega Man X, Castlevania, Kirby's Dream Course, Final Fantasy, or Contra, but all the other ones I've kind of at least delved into. And,
Yeah,
you know, a lot of these games I've sang their praises on this podcast. So
I've played
I'm
most
excited
of
for it.
these.
Oh, go ahead.
I've played most of these. I mean, not all of them. I haven't played like Final Fantasy 3 or Earthbound or Yoshi's Island or anything like that. But I have played like Street Fighter, Punch Out, Castlevania, Super Metroid, F-Zero, Zelda, Super Mario World, all those type of games. Star Fox. I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah. I really would have thought that the Star Wars games would have been on here. The Super Star Wars games.
Yeah, or at least Super Star
Yeah,
Wars.
at least that one. It's
Yeah.
weird. Like that's kind of conspicuously absent because that was a pretty big title for the Super Nintendo.
Maybe it had something to do with licensing.
I mean, probably, but look, Nintendo has all the money in the world. They're the
Yeah.
Disney of video games. They could afford to license some of this stuff for release on this thing cuz look, I mean, not that Lucasfilm needs the money or Disney needs the money, but how much money could they have gotten from the sale of these things? You know, every little bit counts.
Yeah. And
But
I
that's
love the
just me.
box art, by the
Oh
way.
yeah.
It just takes me back.
Oh yeah.
And it comes
Definitely.
with 2 controllers. And I hope the cord is at least a little bit longer
I'm sure it
than
will be this
the
time.
than the 3-foot cord of the NES Classic controller.
Yeah. But this thing looks exactly like the old box used to. The box art.
Yeah.
It's so awesome. And it doesn't really have like it doesn't look old. You know, like the box art
No.
still looks like it's something that could be released today.
God,
At least I
so
think
good.
so.
I love the Super Nintendo.
But let's go ahead and move into this month in gaming history. In 1985, July, Namco releases Baraduke, aka Alien Sector. I never heard of Baraduke, but I have heard of Alien Sector, and I believe that was that a Nintendo title?
It was, let's see,
I believe it was.
Arcade Sharp X6 8000, and then was put on the Japanese Wii Virtual Console.
Because I remember.
So now it sounds like it didn't actually come out on a console,
I might be thinking
with the
of
exception of the
Alien.
virtual.
I might be thinking of Alien Syndrome. That might be what I'm thinking of. As if that's.
I love that name though, Baraduke.
Baraduke. Like Marmaduke.
It's so good. Yeah, kind of like Marmaduke. Yeah.
Or the Babadook.
Also in July of 1985, Sega releases Hang On by Yu Suzuki and AM2. It is the first of Sega's Super Scalar games. Its motorbike cabinet is controlled using the body, starting a Taiken trend of motion-controlled hydraulic cabinets in arcades some 2 decades before motion controls became popular on video game consoles. I've never heard of this before.
I used to play Hang On all the time at the arcade. It was an actual like body of the bike you could get on and lean to actually turn.
Oh, I've seen this before.
You can still find these pretty much in every arc or like bowling alley or something.
Yeah.
You know.
No, I've seen this before. I never played it, but yeah, I know what you're talking about.
But in July 12th of 1990, Nintendo of America publishes Final Fantasy for the Nintendo Entertainment System in North America. The game started Square's popular and long-running Final Fantasy series. You don't say.
Never heard of it.
Never heard of it.
No.
I
mean,
love when they put like no shit sentences in these things. Like, really? This started the Final Fantasy series? Thanks for telling me that.
And in other obvious news, Final Fantasy 1 started the Final Fantasy
Yeah.
series.
I thought that was
Yeah,
Star
I
Wars
mean,
started that.
yeah, like I've never played really Final Fantasy except for Mystic Quest, but you got to give them credit. I mean, the games are still going, they're still popular, people love them. You can't knock it.
Looks like our stream may have stopped, and I don't know why. That's weird.
Let me check it out.
It's looks like
Let's see.
it's still going on my end. I don't know what the problem is, but let's go ahead and keep going.
Yeah, it's
We'll figure
working
it
on
out.
my end.
Yeah, we'll
But
figure this out as we go.
yeah,
But on July 20th of 1990, Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake for the MSX2 computer is released exclusively in Japan. It's Konami's last major game for the hardware.
never played a Metal Gear game before.
I never have. Well, I can't say I probably have. I think I played the original Metal Gear for Nintendo and didn't like it too much. But I was a kid, so I don't
Yeah.
remember that far.
I did like playing a snake in Smash Brothers for the Wii.
Oh yeah,
That
I
was kind
forgot
of
it
a
was in
cool
that.
deal when that happened.
Yeah.
Because you get to see Solid Snake fight like Mario and Link and Samus. It was pretty cool. On July 27th of 1990, Nintendo releases Dr. Mario for 3 Nintendo platforms. I also played a little bit of Dr. Mario this weekend.
I
It's
did
quite
too.
fun.
Actually, I played the other night. Dr. Mario is still great and holds up.
It's got some catchy music too.
Oh yeah. And I still can't get past like
Good stuff.
I still can't get
No,
past
it's
like level 15. It starts going like there's just too much shit going on by then.
yeah. But no, Dr. Mario was pretty fun. You know, it's kind of in the same vein as Tetris, just with a little bit of a Mario and medical spin on it.
Yeah.
So it's
a
good
great
stuff.
game. I'm glad they added that to the Nintendo Classic. I wish I could have gotten one. Would have been nice. But let's go
You
ahead
never
and
know,
move
maybe
into...
one day.
What's that?
I said you never know, maybe one day.
Yeah, right. I don't have the money to drop on one now. I'd rather just go buy the games. And let's go ahead and move into our middle of the show here. And we'll talk a little bit about books before we move into our review for tonight. So, Derek, I'll let you take it away.
So for you, the listeners of the Nerd Cave Retro podcast, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. As we mentioned earlier, and as we mention every week, they have a ton of books to choose from, over 180,000. It has every genre for every type of reader. If you like mysteries, they've got mysteries. If you're a romantic type, they have romance books. If you're a gamer, they have books from the Halo series, Gears of War, Mass Effect. They have so many Star Wars books, fiction, nonfiction, autobiographies. There's no excuse for you not to at least try out Audible. Jason, I know you finished Lords of the Sith and you weren't too happy with it. Have you moved on to something else?
Yeah, I'm actually the other day I went back and listened again to Tough Shit. Life Advice from a Fat Lazy Slob Who Did Good by Kevin Smith. I love that book so much, and I've listened to it probably 6 or 7 times now. It's a really short read. It only takes maybe 5 hours to listen to the whole thing. So
it's not a too terribly long book.
Yeah, if you're looking for a cool book that's funny and kind of inspirational, I highly recommend it. And it doesn't take that long to listen to either. You can listen to it in a day.
Yeah. No, Kevin Smith's great, so definitely check that out if you're a fan of his. But to download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/nerdcave. Again, that's audibletrial.com/nerdcave for your free audiobook.
And this week we're going to be talking about The Batman. that is the rockin' music, which this game's got some great music in it. It's one of the
That track was really good.
yeah, it's one of those games that kind of reminds me. The music really reminds me a lot of like Ninja Gaiden, that kind of just heart pounding, awesome chip
Yeah.
tune music. Like I could listen to that all day. But Batman the video game it was produced by Sunsoft for the Nintendo Entertainment System and Game Boy, loosely based on the 1989 film of the same name. Despite having the same title, each is actually a different game. The NES title is arguably the best known and contains 5 levels culminating in a showdown with the Joker in the bell tower of the Gotham Cathedral. It was received quite well despite changes from the movie upon which it was based. Sunsoft followed up the release with Batman Return of the Joker, and I will admit that I did not get to play that game. And I'm going to, for people that are watching, I'm going to hold up the cartridge here. Probably one of my absolute favorite cover arts to any game because
Oh yeah.
I mean, look at how awesome that is. It's the gold and black Batman symbol from the movie with Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson, and that's probably my favorite bat symbol, is that one. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like all the different iterations of it. I still like the fat bat, the Frank Miller fat bat, where it's just black, there's no gold on it. But man, there's just, when you see that gold Batman symbol, it takes me right back to 1989 and the bat frenzy that America was in that summer. You were probably too young to remember the Batman frenzy.
Yeah, I was. Let's see, that was '89, so I was 3 or 4 when that happened. My uncle, who's close to your age, I think he's a little bit older than you are, has told me stories about how big of a deal that movie was
Oh, you
when
have
it
no
came out.
idea.
So I wish I could have been, a little bit older to remember it. But like you said, that bat symbol, I don't know
Yes.
if it's my favorite, but I think it's the most known. Like you see
Yeah.
it and you instantly know that's Batman, and
Yeah.
I instantly think of the movie.
Oh
And
yeah.
I know it's had some mixed reviews. I know some people don't like Michael Keaton as Batman, but I actually really enjoyed that movie.
Oh, that
Jack Nicholson was a great Joker.
that movie still holds up, man. I don't care what
Oh, for
anyone
sure.
says. That movie still holds up. Yeah, it's got its problems, but you got to think, in 1989, the only other superhero movie we had was, the good superhero movie was Superman, which was 10 years
Late
before that.
70s.
And then after that, we had Superman 2, which was okay, and then Superman 3 and 4, which were abominations. And the only Batman screen on the screen that we had at that time was the 60s TV show. So when
Yeah.
Batman came out in 1989, I mean, it was just like, holy shit. I've said
Yeah.
shit a lot on this show, but you just, I remember begging my dad to take me, and we didn't go opening weekend. We went the week after, the second weekend. And I remember
Hmm.
we went to a theater that had, you got to remember, back in the day, there weren't multiplexes. We had 2 theaters. One was inside the mall, one was outside the mall. And when the one outside the mall had 2 big theaters in it, and one side was playing Ghostbusters 2, and one side was playing Batman. And the line for Batman was easily, I'd say, probably a quarter-mile long, easy, like almost
Wow.
wrapped around the mall, through the parking lot. Me and my dad had gotten there early, so we were relatively close to the front. I'd say we were probably the length of a football field from the actual ticket booth to
Wow.
go get. And of course, for the Ghostbusters side, there weren't too many people going into the theater. And don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, I like Ghostbusters too, but it doesn't compare to Batman. So,
No.
I still remember going into the theater and just watching that movie. It was life changing at the time. And then, Batman hasn't had all that great of a presence in video games other than the Arkham series. The Arkham series really made you feel like you were Batman, but going looking back in the past, Batman hasn't had that great of a showing, but this version of Batman, the Nintendo version, the Batman the video game, was a great game, and to be a licensed property, I mean, yeah, they did take a lot of liberties with the actual story. It kind of loosely follows the movie, culminating, like it said, with the final showdown with the Joker and the cathedral. But
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't have asked for more than this because A, the music's great, B, the graphics are awesome, C, the controls, the hit detection, it all works. And D, being able to switch through your different weapons. I mean, you've got your batarang, you've got like this little missile launcher, you've got another kind of flame, like all kind of different power ups that you can get throughout the game. My favorite thing happens to be the batarang, which I'm always switching between that and just fists. And then another
Mm-hmm.
thing that this game brought out was wall jumping, which you can do it in Ninja Gaiden, but and I don't know really which game came first. I guess Ninja Gaiden probably came first, or they came out around the same time. But the wall jumping on this game is what makes it so fun because you can try to like get to different areas and like you can take different paths if you can like time your jump to hit a certain spot and then jump back up and jump to another ledge. It's got so many cool little things that you can do like that. um, but everything about this game just is really good. My only problem with it is it's so freaking hard, man. This is one of the hardest games. Like, I thought Ninja Gaiden was hard, and I don't know if anybody follows our Instagram. I just got this Batman game again, like a couple of weeks ago. I found it at the flea market, and I haven't played this game in probably, how long has it been since 1990 was 27 years ago, so roughly between 25 and 27 years ago I played this game the last time I played it, so I'd forgotten a lot about it. But this game is ridiculously hard, and I got a bad case of Nintendo thumb the other night playing this thing. But
Uh,
it says it's reminiscent of Ryu Hayabusa's wall scaling in Ninja Gaiden. So this must have came out after Ninja Gaiden.
that's what it sounds like. Now, I do have a very important question
Mm-hmm.
about this game. I have to know, do you get to dance with the devil in the pale moonlight?
I think that actually is one of the cutscenes. I haven't gotten that far. I haven't gotten to the end of this game. I got pretty far the last couple times I tried to play it. I was trying to see if I could beat it before the actual review tonight.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot who was the last boss that I got to because you can play a number of DC villains appear as enemies in the game, including Deadshot, KG Beast, Maxi Zeus, Heatwave, Shakedown, and Night Slayer. The bosses in the game are Killer Moth, the Electrocutioner, and Firebug, and the Joker. I think I got to Firebug the other night.
Oh, okay.
Says while Batman and Batman the Caped Crusader were not based on a movie, this game was. The prototype version of the game had some significant differences, such as a one-up icon and entirely different cutscenes. The game's last boss was Firebug, and there was no Joker boss. Instead, Batman defeats the Joker in the ending cutscene. The art and dialogue were changed from the prototype to the final version to better reflect the look and events from the movie. So I guess this game must have already been in development before the movie came out, and they just kind of retrofitted it.
That's what it sounds like. But I mean, I'm only seeing the screenshot here on the Wikipedia, but I really like the look of it. The graphics, for the NES look
Mm-hmm.
really good. From everything that you're sounding and talking about, it sounds like a really fun game.
Yeah, and it's got really good cutscenes in it. I mean, for being an NES game, the likenesses are really great in the cutscenes. I mean, it basically follows like the main plot points of the movie you get a cutscene for. So, the part where
Hmm.
he's going into Axis Chemicals and he shoots the door and drives through it, and then you got to go through Axis Chemicals, and then you get the next cutscene and the next cutscene after every kind of level that you go through. So, and the cutscenes are look really good. So, I mean, that's one of the big pluses for this game is that the graphics are so good on this game, and yeah, it's really hard, but it's like I said, it's one of those games kind of like last week when we talked about Castlevania. Even though it is ridiculously hard, it makes you want to keep going back to play it again and again because you're just like, oh, I know I can get that jump. I know which way I need to go now. I know how to get past this guy. It's like it just something. It's got that sauce in it that just makes you want to keep going and going through it till you finally get past that point where that you can't get past.
And that's what's great about video games like that is when it has that little thing that makes you want to keep coming back for more, even if it's so frustratingly hard and you want to throw your controller and break it against the wall.
Yeah.
But you know what? You're just going to pick it up and you're going to try it again
Mm-hmm.
because you love it. That's one of the best things about a video game.
Oh, of course, especially the old Nintendo games too, because they can be brutally hard. Especially, there's a difference between being hard for hard's sake, but then there's games like this, like Batman and Ninja Gaiden, and games like that do have that reputation of being Nintendo hard, but there's something special about them from, the gameplay to, the feel of the game, the hit detection, just everything just comes together and just feels so right about it that no matter how hard it is, you just keep wanting to play it. And this is one of
Yeah.
those games.
No, I totally agree. And it's good to see, Batman have more of a presence in video games now because you mentioned the Arkham series, but
Yeah.
I'll even throw in the Lego Batman series.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw the movie. The movie was
I
fantastic, but
have
the
not
games
seen it
are
yet.
really, really good.
Uh, Excuse me. I actually saw the Lego Batman movie for sale yesterday in Walmart, and I almost bought it, but I did not. And I can't really say why. I just kind of like, no, I'll rent it or something. And
It's worth a watch. It's honestly, even comparing it to some of the other Batman movies, it's in like probably my top three. It's
really,
that good. It's a
wow.
great tribute to Batman as a whole, like the '66 show, the comics, the new iterations. It's really, really good.
Well, that's the great thing about Batman is no matter what iteration of Batman there is, there's something to like about it. The
Yeah.
66 Batman was so different from, this version of Batman. And then the 90s Batman kind of got a little off track, but you can
Yeah.
still go back and watch those movies for the humor factor and just like watch it almost MST, like doing MST3K with those movies, just kind of like, what were they thinking? You know?
I'll say this, and I might be in the minority. I actually don't mind Batman Forever.
I actually
Like
like that movie. Yeah.
for what that movie is, it's pretty good. Now, Batman and Robin is an absolute train wreck,
One of the
but
few
it's one of
movies I
those things
walked
like
out.
some. Oh, go ahead.
So one of the few movies that I actually walked out of.
Thankfully, I didn't see that in theaters. I didn't see any of the original Batman movies in theaters. Probably because I was a little too young then. But all the other ones, from Batman Begins on, I've seen.
Yeah.
But
I love everything Batman, especially like this game. I'm going to give this game, I don't want to give it too high of a score because it is I think a little too hard. They probably could have scaled back the difficulty just a little bit. So I'm going to ding it for that, but I am going to give it an 8.5.
nice. No, that's a solid grade. So hopefully one day I'll get a chance to play this or at least watch some gameplay of it because it looks like a fun game. It's great looking and like you said, it's Batman, so
Yeah, and if you
can't
ever
really
get a
complain about
chance,
that.
like if they ever have it for sale on like the Nintendo eShop or anything, pick it up because it's definitely worth it.
Absolutely.
But that's going to bring us to the end of the show. So, Derek, is there anything else that you wanted to talk about before we leave tonight?
I don't think so. Just, next week I'll be reviewing Crash Bandicoot 2, originally out for the PlayStation 1. That'll actually be the first PlayStation game that's been reviewed on the show. So that'll be fun.
Sweet.
And check out all the other podcasts we have on the Nerd Cave Network. Mondays, we have this show, Nerd Cave Retro. Tuesdays, we have my solo show, The Derek Diamond Experience. Thursdays, we have our wrestling podcast, Battle of the Brands. So if you're a WWE fan, check that out. On Fridays, we have the Nerd Cave podcast. This week, we took this week off because of 4th of July.
Yeah.
And then Saturdays, we have your show, The Pop Culture Palette.
Yes, and actually this week we got to talk with a couple of filmmakers that are going to be making a Star Wars parody fan film called Hopeless.
Oh, cool.
A Star Wars story. So definitely go over there and check that out at pcpradio.com. But other
Cool.
than that,
Yeah, I look forward to listening to that.
I think we're just about done for this week. And next week you are going to be doing the Crash Bandicoot collection. Ah, sweet. I'll have to look up some video of that because I haven't seen anything from it yet.
It's really good. It's really, really good.
And I'm going to try to line us up a couple of guests here really soon, too. We've had a guest that we've wanted to get on for a while, Mr. Joey Image, but he had some stuff happen and he wasn't able to be on the show. And just recently I saw he was at Nerdtacular, so he's been out of town. But hopefully we can get him back in here soon. And I do want to get Wallace Phelps in here because coming up really soon, we need to do our Super Mario Brothers, the movie.
Yes, we do.
We need
to that'll be so done. Good.
But other than that,
the great Wallace Phelps.
Yes, the great Wallace Phelps, who usually does our fact checking after the show and calls us out on Twitter for getting wrong information all the time.
Hey, never let facts get in the way of a good story.
Fake news. That's what it is.
Yeah, hashtag fake news.
Hashtag fake news. But let's go ahead and get out of here for this week. If you would like to get a hold of us, you can email us at nerdcaveretro@gmail.com. You can go to our own website at nerdcaveretro.com. We're also on Instagram and Twitter at nerdcaveretro, and you can follow us individually at jfunktastic and at Derek_Diamond. And we're also on Facebook at facebook.com/nerdcaveretro. So Derek, tell them what it's all about.
Batman.
You've been listening to a Nerd Cave Network production.
All right, so that goes. I think that went pretty good for our second Twitch broadcast. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop the stream here. So good night, everybody.